everyone, welcome back to Spare Room Studio. Today I am sharing with you my completed pages for September 2025. Now September was a busy month for me in terms of non-colouring related events, so I don't have so many pages to share with you this month, and what I have worked in, I've used one book for several pages. But I'm really happy with the pages that I've done this month. There's been some pages that I've put more work into or more effort into and took me a little bit longer. But I'm happy with it. It is what it is. So I'm going to get started with Adorable Girls from Raider Prince. And this is a fairly new book to me. I've only bought it recently. And I bought this book because I thought it would be a great book for colouring with oil pastels and gel crayons and so on. And on this page here I ruined it by adding a lot of water on there, and instead of letting nature take its course and flatten it out, I ironed it, so I actually made the wrinkles worse. So that was last month's effort, but this month I decided to try and use the gel crayons and the oil pastels without any sort of water-based product at all. And so I've actually used a combination of shuttle art crayons, which you can blend with water if you want to, but I use shuttle art gel crayons, Bible highlighters and oil pastels, and I basically just used a cotton tip to smudge and smear the oil pastel in the tighter areas. Otherwise I used my finger, and in the background I used a stencil. I'm pretty new to using stencils, so I need a little bit of practice at moving and lining things up, but I'm really very happy with this one. And I've used a couple of neon oil pastels on here as well, which gives it that little bit of a glow in her hair and around different places. So that's actually the neon oil pastels that I got. So very, very simple in terms of it being a big head, but I'm really happy with the way that that turned out. And I'll show you a little bit closer. If you're not familiar with oil pastels, you might be thinking, well, why are you choosing to use oil pastels over other things? Oil pastels do give you a very different texture, and you can work in different ways. You can try to aim for some degree of realism and blending, or you can leave them very unblended. I've got some areas there that are not so smooth and blended as others. The gel crayons themselves are a lot more movable. I don't know the best way to describe it, but gel crayons I would describe as having that consistency similar to a lipstick feeling. They're slippery, but oil pastels can be hard, or they can be really soft and smushy, so you get different brands with different properties, and just the combination of the two are a lot of fun to play with. And I love the vibrancy of the oil pastels, and it's just something different. I find that as I colour more and more, I find that I used to just colour with coloured pencils and I didn't want to colour with anything else, but as time goes by I'm preferring to play around with mixed media and different mediums that I haven't used so much in the past, and oil pastels are pretty new to me. And the preconceived notions I had about them are not necessarily true. So this book, with its very large, big open spaces, is perfect for having a go with oil pastels when you're not particularly used to them. But I think I would struggle to use an oil pastel on a very detailed area. But, for a background, big open space, they're going to be great. So this book is going to be a bit of a playbook for me. So that is Raider Prince, Adorable Girls. Next, I finished a couple of whips off because I was busy doing redecorating in the studio and so on. I didn't have a lot of time or energy for colouring in the early part of the month. And so it's only been in the last week or so that I've got quite a few pages started and finished. But I used the time to complete a couple of whips. And this is one from Jugan by Holly Sanders. And this page, as you can see, is titled Sacred Turtle. So this book has the image on one side and a explanation of what the image is representing, and there are a couple of double page spreads as well, but you could essentially treat this as a single-sided book for the most part, and I decided with this being the last page on the book that I was going to have a go with some alcohol markers in here. So I've based it with alcohol markers. I've used a little tiny bit of gel crayon on top of those alcohol markers in areas, and I think that's just about it. Maybe some water-based markers as well. A bit of that, but kept it pretty basic. So some of the other pages that I've worked on in this book, I've gone into great big mixed media explorations, but this page is quite simple. But I just used that little bit of gel crayon and possibly a bit of coloured pencil, but I don't think so. I think it was just gel crayon. I didn't write this one down. So that is Dugan by Holly Sanders. The next whip that I got around to finishing is in Fairies in Dreamland by Denise Klett. And I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this book. I do really like it. Her art style is really good, and the subject's quite quirky and funny and so on. But some of them I really don't know how best to colour them. So it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. And although the paper is thick, it can be tricky to work on. It can be difficult with water to work on especially. So this page, I think I tried out some water-soluble oil pastels first and didn't like the way that they worked. So I've actually gone over the top with a mixture of gel crayons and oil pastels again. And this is a very detailed little image. So obviously oil pastels was going to be hard to use, but I have used them on the flowers, those larger areas of the flowers. And I've made a bit of a background to not be very detailed, but to suggest that there is a lot of foliage and trees behind and a sky with some clouds. So that's all oil pastel and gel crayon. And then I finished off the rest of the patterning on the blankets and so on, and the fairy herself with water-based markers and fine liners I think I used. And there's a tiny bit of pastel on the fairy's hair and her wings. But I've used the neon oil pastels here on these big flowers, and that's what's giving it that really super vibrant sort of punchy colour. They are neon ones, so I think I bought them late last month or early September and haven't really had a great chance to play with them yet, but I think they're going to be really handy for putting little touches of highlights in places and really making colour pop. I know that Coloured by Maya, Maya likes to use neon, and I like to use, we call them fluorescent here a lot of the time, but there's some pens in the Faber-Castell connector pens that are like a fluorescent yellow and fluorescent green, and I often like to use those for little touches of highlights around the place. So I've envisaged using the neon oil pastels in a similar way, but time will tell what I come up with, because I do need time to just sit and play with the oil pastels and get messy. So I need a day where I'm not going to be planning to do too much else when I start playing with them. So that one is Fairies in Dreamland by Denise Klett. And next I have Pop Manga Catitude from Camilla Derico. I'm already making a bit of a mess with this book. This book arrived when we were doing some of the redecorating. So once I got the chance to work on this, you can bet that I dived straight into it. So this is the first double page spread that I did. And I do have a video where I talk through some of the parts of working on this image, and it's not a full colour along or tutorial or anything like that, but I talk about different things, how I go about with the strawberries and approach the cat fur and that sort of thing. So I used water-based markers. I used Staedtler double-ended fibre tip pens, not the watercolour ones. They are water-based, but they're not called watercolour. I also used Stabilo pen 68, and then I used a combination of Faber-Castell Polychromos, that was mostly on the strawberries, and Artex pencils over the top for the details and strengthening up some of the colours. I also used an white acrylic paint pen to do the whiskers and the highlights where I'd lost some of the highlights and so on. So I started off on this page, and I was only going to do the one side to start with, and then, you know, it came along so well, and these strawberries are so super vibrant that I decided that I'd finish the double page spread all in one go. And I'm really, really happy with that one. I really loved doing it. I'm happy with the way it looks. And, you know, this book is going to challenge me a little bit because I don't know a lot about cats. And the whole book, of course, is about cats. So, you know, I'm going to have to do lots of Googling for reference photos and things for colouring and getting ideas for this particular book. But as per usual, Camilla Derrico's pop manga style, you know, really does shine in this particular colouring book. So this one here, I used, let me think. The background was done with acrylic ink. I used Daler Rowney. They were new to me. I bought them last month with some money I was gifted for my birthday. So the turquoisey blue colour in the background and the blues are Daler Rowney acrylic inks. I also used, and I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but a little bit. You can see here on this ball of wool, I've actually used a pearlescent ink, and it's also in the background there as well in places, and yeah, you can see it a little bit on the yarn. So the Daler Rowney acrylic inks, I picked up one which was Waterfall Green, I think it's called, and it's pearlescent. That's giving that shiny effect. I also used some Chateau Art crayons on the background over the top of the inks once they were dry, and based some of the cats that way as well. And I used possibly some water-based marker on there. I can't remember, even though it wasn't that long ago. And definitely used Artex pencils and some Prismacolor over the top for extra details. Yeah, I did. I've just remembered now. I did base some of the cats and some of the box with the Stabilo pen 68 and the Staedtler pens, and then I used a combination of gel crayons and coloured pencil over the top of it to create the look of the cats. So this one I've tried to make a lot more textured, so if we get in a little bit closer you might be able to see some of the details. So the layering of the pencil and the gel crayon over the water-based markers really builds up that sense of texture and depth of colour. On the cat here, I've used all the colours in the rest of the image in the fur here for this cat, just so that it makes a bit of a relationship between the cat and the background and what's going on. And then over here I used the same sort of effect on this cat here. This one's got more water-based marker base on it and more pencil, I think. You know, this one's probably got more pencil, this one's got more gel crayon on it. So I talk about it in my videos, on a couple of my videos, that I'm not a fan of drawing all the individual hairs in to portray fur and hair on animals. So I try to look for ways that I can make the animals interesting by bringing all these extra different colours in that you wouldn't actually see in real life in animal fur. But it makes it more interesting because that to me is easier and quicker and more simpler to do than sitting and drawing every individual, you know, hair and texture that way. So I'm quite a lazy colorist and I don't really enjoy doing all of that fine detail these days. If you hear any whimpering, I do have Hamish in the room with me again, so he's dreaming. Okay, so that was the next double page spread that I did in Camilla Derrico's Catitude. So I'm just going to put these in because I haven't actually fixed any of that background as yet, and just so that we don't get any colour transfer, I'm putting this wax-proof paper in here. Okay, so that's Catitude. Next one that I did, and I have got a video for this one where I do a demonstration of the background for you and then go on to finish colouring the whole bee. So I did a demonstration of acrylic ink as a background, and I used sprinkling salt to get textural effects in the background. So I sort of talked about how I like to get a very abstract look. And I used Daler-Rowney inks and a brand that is, you know, a generic store brand here in Australia called Anko, very cheap. I used Artex pencils. I've got some gold Languo gel pen on there, a little tiny bit of Moonlight jelly roll in a yellow from Sakura. I've got a tiny bit of Shuttle Art gel crayon that I use for the demonstration on the background, and as I say, there is a video showing you how I colour this whole page in entirety. So the bee is based in acrylic ink as well, and then I've used coloured pencil over the top of it. So a closer look, if you haven't seen that demo video, I do talk about how to create this effect here with the salt and explain how that works a little bit. And it was very much about getting lots of textural, different abstract looking colours and shapes and things happening in that background. It wasn't meant to look like anything in particular, but just allowing the ink to move freely and do its own thing, and then whatever happens, you go with that. You know, you plan the rest of it from whatever happens randomly. And then I worked on the bee much more detailed, trying to get some definition and detail back into the bee so that there was that nice combination of the very loose and washy abstract background with the tightly controlled colouring of the bee. And this I've done quite a long time ago now, but I did a lot of splatter on that one. I didn't want to do that here again because I had demoed how to do the salt, but I think that makes a nice, you know, combination with the abstract backgrounds. So this book is The Creatures of Ken Matsuda, the Hatchet Heroes version, and Get Creative 6 has just released an English version of this, and I believe it's called Ecotopia or Ecotopia. So if you have been hanging out for an English version, it is being released by Get Creative 6, and yeah, it's a lovely book. One of my favourite books to colour in. So that's that one. And then I'll finish up with R.J. Hampson, as I so often do. I can't really go by a month where I don't colour in at least one R.J. Hampson picture. So this is the newest release from Russell. It's called Steampunk Revival. And I coloured the title page here using coloured pencil and a little bit of gel pen, but it's all mostly coloured pencil, that one. And this one here has a Neo Colour 2 base with gel crayons and metallic gel pens. A little tiny bit of pencil on there, but not very much. So what I did with this one, I've really wrinkled the page up. My photo on Instagram is actually a lot worse. I should have been patient and just let it sit for a bit, and it has flattened out a small amount. But I worked with Neo Colour 2s first as a base on the background, and I actually did cause a bit of damage here as well and here, because this paper is the worst of Amazon Australia paper. Most of Russell's books aren't too bad, but this one is not reacting at all well to water, and I've got quite a bit of damage there. You know, I do put a bit of water on there though. So that's got Neo Colour 2, and yeah, pretty much just mostly Neo Colour 2, and I've put gel crayon over the top of it, trying to disguise and smooth out some of that damage. And then Neo Colour 2 over all of it, and I've also done a little bit of work in here, a tiny bit of pencil, gel crayon, the butterflies, the insects have got different types of metallic gel pens on there, trying to get that steampunk look. So a bit of a different colour palette for this one, but that's because I've chosen to buy open stock Neo Colour 2. So besides my very small set that was gifted to me by Axic Fumbles, I've picked up a few open stock colours, and that's what I've concentrated on here mostly, is using those open stock colours. And then the gel crayons obviously had to work in with that base. Next I've got Ticketmaster, and this one again, you know, I keep using the water with it, hoping that I'm going to hit on the magic formula of how much water I can get away with, because I do like my water-based products. So water-based marker background, I used Stabilo Pen 68 and the Staedtler pens again. I've used Artex pencils and a small amount of Prismacolor over the top, and there are some metallic gel pens in there as well. And this one I've just worked at layering, and I've worked with some cross-hatching to get some texture into this background here. Because it's steampunk, I didn't want it to be really perfect. I was trying to go for a bit of a grungy look with that background, and you can see some of the texture that I've been able to achieve with the gel crayons and so on. Did I say I used gel crayons? I've not written that down. Yeah, I used a bit of gel crayon on here. The Shuttle Art gel crayons and the Bible highlighters. And hopefully, can we pick up any of the metallic shining? A little bit there on the train. So I really enjoyed that one. Now this one is a buddy colour with my friend Joe at 120 Colours from Instagram, and we worked on this one. And we both had a little bit of trouble with this one. Joe with her background, and me because I actually taped off the background with some washi tape so that I could use gel crayon on here. And when I took the washi tape off, even though it wasn't on for very long and I didn't really press it down hard, I tore the surface of the paper there, so that was a bit frustrating. So I've used gel crayons on the background, I've used water-based markers on the giraffe, I've also used some gel crayon on the wings. The water-based markers were again the Stabilo Pen 68 and the Staedtler, and I've used some gel pen, metallic gel pen around the place, and probably just a small touch of coloured pencil where I've needed it. But you know, so little that I can't even really tell you where I used it. I know the purple in the shadow is, but yeah, I can't really pick too much else pencil out. So Up here is where I damaged the, I don't know if we can get in there. So the washi tape took the surface of the paper off, which is really frustrating. But, you know, it is what it is. And also when I was working with the gel crayons, I've, you know, scrunched my page up a little bit and got it a bit messy. But other than those shortcomings, I'm really happy with the way it worked out. The colours are perfect, and, you know, it was sort of what I wanted. I wanted to get that bit more of a vintagey illustration style going on with the colours, and this blue from the gel crayons was perfect for that. But and I've used some water with the gel crayons as well to blend it. So that one's called A Head for Heights. And then the last one that I've done for this month was this page here, called Aquarium. And this one I've used a little bit of water-based markers again, a little bit of water. I've used coloured pencil, a little bit of metallic gel pen maybe. No, I haven't. I actually used metallic pencils on this. So anything that's got any little bit of shine on it is actually from, I don't know if it's going to show up. It's always very hard to get the shiny bits to show. So any of that slight shine that you can see is a combination of it being the metallic metallic coloured pencil, and just the fact that I've worked so many layers of pencil, and you get that shiny wax build up when you work just with coloured pencil. So it's a combination of the metallic coloured pencil and the natural shine that you get. So that is that particular page. So I've got another couple that I've started, but I haven't got too far along with yet. But that's all that I got done for this month. Not much in the way of numbers. However, in terms of the amount of time that I spent on pages and the quality of the pages, I'm really happy with the month. So my favourite ones have been this one, I think, and I think that that's probably my favourite spread for the month as well. So I enjoyed them all. You know, it's not really favourites, because I have enjoyed, they all have their own, you know, something about them that I've enjoyed doing. This was a good learning experience. This one, you know, I just enjoyed doing something a bit different and not so realistic. And I certainly enjoyed having a play with my oil pastels. And I think this girl turned out really well, super vibrant and so on. So they're all a little bit different, but a pretty vibrant month colour-wise again. I think, you know, lots of saturated, vibrant colour again, which is always a lot of fun. So I hope you had a good month. I have no idea what's coming up for me again in October. No plans at all. I'm just going to take each day as it comes. Hopefully I'll make some videos for you, and hopefully it will be something that you find of use or interest. So thanks again for joining me today. Have a good month, everyone. See you soon. Bye now.